Hello. Yeah, Northside baby, man. Y'all niggas can't get rid of me. I'm like cancer. You know what I mean? You can't get rid of the cancer, you know what I mean? I'm harder than all you.
Since Cardi B gave birth in November 2025, everything around Offset has been chaotic. Instagram live rants, DNA test demands, even a shooting that landed him in the hospital. And that Cardi and Stefan Diggs clip. Just one more twist in this crazy story. Let me fill you in. The baby, the alleged post, and the first wave. Cardi B and Offset had been legally married since 2017. Their relationship was one of the most documented in hip-hop. The proposals, the chart runs, the public cheating admissions, the reconciliations that played out in real time on camera for audiences that numbered in the millions. They had 3 children together, built a household, and ran a public identity as a unit, even when that unit was openly fractured. In 2018, Offset crashed her Rolling Loud set with roses begging for reconciliation. In 2023, he posted then deleted an accusation of her cheating on him. Later that same year, she broke down on Instagram Live over being played while she was at her most vulnerable. By the time Cardi filed for divorce in 2024, the pattern of explosion and reconciliation had been running for years. And the divorce, when it came, carried the weight of everything that had already happened between them. When she filed, she framed it as clean. No child support from either side. Each parent would handle their own kids independently. She went on Instagram Live to clarify it was not about a new cheating incident or any single explosive event. She said she was not devastated. She was tired of arguments and wanted out before things got worse.
Sometimes you just want to leave. What is so bad about that? Why y'all want it to be a baby? Why y'all want it to be, oh, he cheated again? Sometimes you want to stop it before it gets to that.
But the divorce had not been finalized. In late 2024, Cardi went public with a relationship with NFL receiver Stefan Diggs. Diggs, who had played for the Minnesota Vikings, the Buffalo Bills, the Houston Texans, and was at the time with the New England Patriots, was one of the more visible receivers in the league over the previous decade. For Pro Bowls, back-to-back 1,000-Y seasons in Buffalo, the kind of resume that kept a name in circulation well beyond football, the relationship moved through the entertainment press quickly once it became visible. By September 2025, she announced on CBS Mornings she was pregnant with his child. The announcement was direct. She named Diggs as the father without hesitation. In November 2025, she gave birth to a son because the divorce was not finalized. The ongoing marriage created a legal question about a child born during it.
Cardi B just had a baby with Stefan Diggs. But since she is still legally married to Offset, Offset is legally the baby's father. And Stefan Diggs just had another baby by another girl like a month or 2 ago.
So this is what's crazy.
Shortly after the birth, screenshots circulated showing what appeared to be an Instagram story from Offset's account reading, "My kid, LOL," a direct reference to the newborn. Post went everywhere instantly. Every entertainment outlet ran with it. Offset's team called it completely fabricated and said any statements attributed to him about the baby on social media at that time were misinformation. Cardi, meanwhile, posted on X, saying she had been harassed and threatened for over a year to the point she felt her life was at risk. In an X Spaces, she said she had been holding receipts and that the private harassment kept escalating to public attacks whenever she ignored it. She told people to leave her alone. The denial did not stop the cycle. Claim and counterclaim became their own headline separate from the baby itself. And Offset was already on Instagram Live making statements about the child, saying it looked like him, laying out timelines, performing the certainty of someone who had decided the paternity question was already answered in his favor regardless of what the record said. He had also sat down that same year and acknowledged on record where the marriage had failed.
I was definitely not perfect in this situation. You know what I mean? I made a lot of mistakes, a lot of things that I did wrong. I should have respected her way more. You know what I mean? I made bad decisions as a man, like stepping out, like gotta take that on the chin,
like the acknowledgement and the Instagram behavior were happening simultaneously. One was a man who had sat down and said he had been selfish, that he should have done better, that the failure of the marriage was something he had to own. The other was a man on Instagram Live claiming ownership of a child born to another man while the divorce was still in progress. Both were the same person. Clean divorce was gone. The baby had changed everything and the loudest shots had not landed yet. The disc, the tape, and the threats. On October 31st, 2025, while Cardi was visibly pregnant, Offset released a surprise album called Haunted by Fame. The timing was deliberate Halloween, while the woman he was still legally married to was carrying another man's child. On the track No Sweat, He rapped how the "You leave Jordan for Rodman," placing himself as the franchise and Diggs as the entertaining but ultimately supporting cast figure who was never the main act. He added bars referencing being married while a birth was happening and lines telling Cardi she was going berserk for moving on. The verse trended immediately, generated a wave of memes, and established one thing clearly: Offset was not going to be quiet about this. He had a platform, he still had a voice, and the album was the opening formal statement of where he stood on the entire situation. Cardi did not respond to the track directly. She stayed focused on the pregnancy and let it run its cycle. But the music had announced a posture, and the next installment of that posture was going to come from a direction nobody had anticipated. The escalation that followed came through channels that were messier and harder to contain. In January 2026, influencer Selena Powell went on her podcast, Two Girls from Mars, and released what she described as a screen-recorded FaceTime call with Offset. Powell had her own documented grievances against him. She had claimed he owed her money, and the FaceTime was presented in the context of a wider beef she was airing publicly. Whether that context made the audio more or less credible depended on who was doing the evaluation. What was not in dispute was the reach of the clip itself. The audio spread to every platform within hours. In the recording, Offset makes direct threats toward a target universally understood to be Stefon Diggs, describing what he would do if he caught Buddy, beat him up, rob him, shoot him in the knees to end his football career. He laughed through parts of it. The laughter made it more unsettling, not less, because it did not read as someone joking. It read as someone who had already decided the threats were inevitable and was comfortable with that decision. Offset's camp never issued a full public denial or confirmed the audio's authenticity. No legal challenge came. No statement emerged that removed it from circulation. Clips sat in the ecosystem, being pulled out and replayed every time new developments broke, functioning as a recurring exhibit in the public record, being assembled around the idea that Offset's behavior had crossed from social media noise into something with real-world stakes. Cardi had already established harassment claims in the divorce proceedings. The audio, whether fully authenticated or not, gave that argument auditory evidence that moved beyond assertion into something people could hear for themselves. Diggs, throughout all of this, said nothing.
Oh, my personal life? I told you about that. We won't talk too much about my personal life, but I heard about it.
One sentence to a reporter. No live, no disc, no engagement. Contrast between his discipline and Offset's output became one of the defining images of the whole saga. Then came April 5th to 7th, 2026. Offset went on Instagram Live multiple times across those 3 days in sessions that produced the most clipped footage of the entire story. He claimed he and Cardi were back together. He said Diggs had cheated on her over 8 times, including during her pregnancy, and had left her alone with all the children. He said the baby looked just like him, that he already knew it was his. He predicted Diggs would end up paying $500,000 a month in child support, framing it as an outcome he was not just expecting but looking forward to. And then on camera, in real time, he threatened Diggs physically, referencing knees and ending a football career. The exact language that had circulated in the Selena audio months before the circle between the private leaked call and the public Instagram Live had now closed completely. The lives ran April 5th.
Hello. Yeah, Northside baby, man. Y'all niggas can't get rid of me. I'm like cancer. You know what I mean? You can't get rid of the cancer, you know what I mean? I'm harder than all you.
On April 6th, Offset was shot outside a casino in Florida. He kept posting on April 7th. The music, the audio, the lives, and a shooting all inside the same rolling window. Offset takes it to court. There is a version of this story that stays in the entertainment column. Social media rants, a disc verse, a podcast leak. But one development moved it somewhere harder to dismiss. In court documents dated February 25, 2026, as part of the ongoing divorce, Offset formally requested DNA paternity testing for at least 2 of Cardi's children, including the newborn widely understood to be Diggs' son. This was not an Instagram claim. This was a legal filing with his name on it, processed by a judge. The documents became public around April 9 of 2026. When TMZ published the details, the ruling split the request. The DNA test for the newborn Diggs' son was denied. That door closed. The DNA test for another of Cardi's children was granted. Birth dates were redacted. So, the specific child was not publicly identified. Results were not publicly available. The filing confirmed that what Offset was saying on Live was also his legal position, formally submitted, partially validated by a court, and on the record. He was not just claiming the baby on Instagram. He was constructing a legal argument around it with documentation, attorneys, and a court record behind it. The denial on the Diggs baby closed one door. The granted test on the other child left a question unresolved and out of public view. What the filing confirmed, regardless of its result, was that the Instagram behavior and the legal strategy were running in the same direction at the same time. This was not social media noise that happened to coincide with court filings. They were the same position, deployed in different arenas simultaneously. The divorce itself had already moved far from the original clean split framing. In addition to the paternity requests, Offset was seeking spousal support, a direct reversal from the no child support agreement Cardi had described when she first filed.
So Cardi B's divorce, remember when she filed, she came out and even said how, like, look, they decided to break things off. Their plans were a pretty smooth breakup, right? A smooth divorce. She said, no child support. We're each going to take care of our kids on our own. And it was clean. But now things have changed because Offset is requesting for spousal support.
Card's net worth sat between $80 and $100 million. Offset's was closer to $30 million. He was also requesting a custody arrangement with her home as the primary residence. The combined picture, spousal support request, paternity filing, custody framing read to many observers as a legal strategy to remain structurally embedded in Card's life through the proceedings rather than achieve a clean separation. A no disparagement order was already in place. Whether it had any practical effect on the Instagram lives, the album verse, or the Selena audio was charitably unclear. Both parties had been legally restricted from making damaging public statements about each other as the case moved through the courts. The legal machinery and the social media behavior were running simultaneously in what appeared to be entirely separate universes. Card's response came across lives and tour performances that were increasingly raw. She expressed exhaustion with the proceedings throughout, health concerns including elevated blood pressure, the difficulty of being on the road while managing the divorce, and 4 children in her life now. At a Chicago stop on the Little Miss Drama Tour, she swapped a lyric in bongos referencing her baby's father in a way the internet immediately dissected. Madison Square Garden. She accidentally rapped a line mentioning Offset by name mid-P performance, caught herself, and made a face that went viral within the hour. She pushed back consistently on the framing that Offset's financial struggles were tied to the marriage. She stated publicly she had helped manage his money when they were together and that what he was dealing with now was a post-separation development she could not be held responsible for. The DNA ruling denied for the Diggs baby granted for the other child left both questions open in different ways. And while the courts were processing it all outside a casino in Florida, the story took a turn that nobody had scripted. Bullets and bad bets. Casino was never just background. It was the axis around which the rest of this was rotating. And the pattern of behavior it represented had been building in documented public and legally consequential ways for well over a year before the shooting. In March 2024, Offset opened a $100,000 credit line at Motor City Casino Hotel in Detroit. He lost it all in a single session. When the casino went to collect from the linked account as per their agreement, the funds were not there. Casino filed a lawsuit on March 30, 2026 for breach of contract and fraud. That lawsuit was filed 4 days before he was shot outside another casino. The overlap in timing was not a coincidence. It was a portrait of someone living inside the same set of choices across multiple venues and multiple years. The thread connecting the gambling to the violence ran through rapper Lil J. In early 2025, Jay went public first on Twitch, then in interviews describing what he said he witnessed Offset doing at a casino, losing heavily, panicking, approaching strangers for Cash App money to keep gambling. DJ said he loaned Offset $10,000 total and never got it back. He described what he characterized as a gambling problem, not a casual night out. The specificity of his account, the amounts, the visible panic, the desperation is what gave it traction beyond the typical beef framing. People who might have dismissed it as a fabricated dispute had details to evaluate and a consistent story across multiple platform appearances from Jay. Offset's response was not a measured denial. He threatened Jay. Jay threatened back. The exchange escalated throughout 2025 in a way that felt less like two adults settling a disagreement and more like a fuse being lit in slow motion, visible to anyone paying attention, moving toward a conclusion that the language on both sides had been pointing at for months. When Offset was shot outside the Seal Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Florida on April 6, 2026, Lil TJ was at the scene and was arrested for disorderly conduct. His team denied direct involvement in the shooting itself. Police connected the incident to the debt dispute. The wound was a leg shot, non-life-threatening. He had been standing outside taking pictures with fans when it happened. He survived. In the hospital, Cardi B was reportedly the first person he called. Despite the DNA filing, the lives, and everything in between she picked up, 8 years and 3 children together do not reduce to nothing because of court filings. That connection was still live. There was once a version of them that looked nothing like this.
What time is it? It's 7 o'clock. So what time is it like in New York? 10. I feel like we have literally everything. I don't know what to do with money anymore.
On Instagram Live, Cardi confronted Lil J directly, telling him arrests were coming by end of the week, that she had clear pictures of him at the scene. It was not the energy of someone watching from a safe distance. It was the energy of someone who still had something at stake in the outcome, who had drawn a line between watching Offset self-destruct and watching the people around him escape consequences for it. Offset's post-shooting statement included a line about life being a gamble. It drew instant and widespread criticism online, interpreted as either profound accidental irony or a complete failure of self-awareness given what the gambling pattern had actually cost him across 2024 and 2025. In a 2024 interview with Lil Yachty that had been recirculating in the weeks before the shooting, he had admitted to losing 8 to 9 million gambling over roughly 40 hours and said he had forced himself to stop at that point. The Detroit casino lawsuit, the TJ loan, and the April 6 parking lot shooting all suggested the stopping point had not held. Des Bryant claimed Offset owed him money from a bet. Ebro Darden mentioned an unpaid Super Bowl wager. None of those individual claims were catastrophic on their own. Small amounts easily disputed in isolation. But running alongside the $100,000 Detroit lawsuit, the Che loan dispute, and a parking lot shooting outside a casino, the accumulation gave multiple outlets in April 2026 the material to describe the gambling not as occasional recklessness, but as a documented, sustained pattern with escalating real-world consequences. By the time the shooting happened, the casino was no longer just a setting. It was a throughful connecting everything. The debt, the threats, the beef, and now the hospital. Within 48 hours of the shooting, there was footage from Washington, D.C. that shifted the entire story. What the footage actually shows. 2 days after Offset was in a hospital bed, Stefon Diggs walked into Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. for Card's Little Miss Drama Tour stop. Came with his mother, his brother, his family. A deliberate choice of company that read less like someone trying to stay low and more like a man making a statement about where he stood and who he was standing with. They danced. They watched the show. After the show, they hit the after-party at Throw Social. Paparazzi were waiting outside. Cardi and Diggs spoke. She got into his white sports car. They drove off together. That footage, April 8, 2026, spread faster than anything else in this story. The baby had been born months earlier. The lives and leaks had each generated their own waves. But seeing Cardi leave a concert in Diggs' car 48 hours after Offset was in the hospital gave the saga a new visual timestamp that reset the clock on a story that never fully stopped running. A present tense image that collapsed 6 months of drama into one frame. This is the new footage the title points at. It is real. It is recent. And it is doing exactly what that kind of footage does. Context behind the clips was dense. Stefon Diggs had been released by the New England Patriots in early March 2026 despite posting over 1,000 receiving yards in 2025, his first 1,000-yard season since 2023. Coming off a torn ACL that had limited him to 8 games in 2024, he mentored young quarterback Drake May, contributed to a deep playoff run, and showed he still had elite production when healthy. Team cut him anyway for cap reasons, with his 2026 contract number representing more than they could absorb. As of mid-April 2026, he remained unsigned, a 33-year-old free agent whose market value was being quietly weighed against his tabloid profile by general managers across the league. Cardi's situation had not tanked his 2025 on-field performance, but the noise it generated had added a layer of complexity to an already difficult free agency math. Cardi-Diggs relationship had not been a smooth line from the September 2025 pregnancy announcement to the April 2026 concert. By Super Bowl 2026, reports described Cardi pulling back over trust issues. Multiple women had come forward with children connected to Diggs in 2025, some with timelines that overlapped directly with Card's pregnancy. The most documented case involved model Aylin Lira, whose DNA paternity suit against Diggs was confirmed in November 2025, the same month Cardi gave birth to her son. Reports of additional births with other women in 2025 added layers to the picture. They had reportedly unfollowed each other. A breakup was widely covered. Card's tour had been a sustained processing of that betrayal. The lyric changes, the emotional lives, the stage comments about being too grown to be played. The whole thing looked on the surface like it was over. And then she got into his car. So, what does the footage actually show when you hold it against everything in the record? It shows Cardi and Diggs are still in each other's orbit, regardless of what any breakup reports said about the Super Bowl period. It shows that 2 days after Offset was in a hospital bed, the man he has been threatening since October 2025 showed up to her concert with his family and drove her home. The footage is real. It is recent and it is doing exactly what the title claims. What it does not show is the clean causal sequence the title implies. Footage drops. Offset goes crazy. The record tells a more layered story. The Halloween album dropped before the baby was born. The Selena Powell audio circulated in January. Court filing was submitted in February. The April lives ran on the 5th and the 7th. The DC footage that generates the new footage framing did not hit the internet until the 8th, meaning the lives that form the bulk of the Offset Goes Crazy content actually predated the viral footage the title treats as the trigger. It is also worth sitting with what Offset's months of sustained motion actually produced. The reconciliation he claimed on Live was not confirmed. The paternity he asserted in court was denied for the newborn. The threats against Diggs stayed verbal. The spousal support request remains in proceedings. Not one of his public moves generated the outcome he said he was building toward. What they generated was footage of him, not of Diggs, of his behavior, not of his results. Diggs throughout all of it said nothing. No live, no disc, no clapback. He brought his mother to a concert and gave reporters one sentence. The man being threatened on a recorded call, questioned in court, and cast as the villain in a diss track has not given Offset a single frame of engagement footage to weaponize. That discipline maintained through 6 months of relentless provocation that would have broken most people's resolve is the most consequential strategic decision anyone in this story has made. Offset Going Crazy is an accurate label for the behavior the record documents, but after new footage went viral, compresses months of continuous self-generated turbulence into a single cause and effect frame the timeline cannot hold. The DC footage is the most recent data point, not the origin. The behavior was already running before the cameras caught Cardi getting into Diggs' car. The divorce is not finalized. The DNA result on the second child is not public. Diggs is unsigned. Tour is still running. The footage keeps coming. So does everything that comes with it. Peace.